My name is Bruce Cabanis, and I'm here to present the educational documents that we have for you. Some members of Muirs Chapel United Methodist Church have concerns about the United Methodist Church position on homosexuality and the inactivity of bishops across the country to address the inconsistency with the rules of the church. At the last Administrative Council meeting in November, a motion was made to form an educational committee who can present documents by January 2023 to educate church members. Once this motion was approved, Pastor Brenda formed a committee and asked us to put together a presentation about the United Methodist Church doctrine of sexuality and how it affects our church. These documents need to be fair, factual, and unbiased for your information. The presentation of these documents does not indicate a predominant view on this issue at Muirs Chapel. Within the congregation, there are people with a variety of opinions on this topic. The committee is made up of Lynn Alexander, Bruce Cabanis, David Coleman, Ed LeBlanc, Kathy Pisco, Mike Robinson, and Ellen Smoke. So how did we get here? Since the formation of the United Methodist Church denomination in 1968, there has been discussion at each general conference about human sexuality, homosexuality, and its compatibility with Christian teachings. The Book of Discipline, which constitutes the law and doctrine of the United Methodist Church, currently states that all persons are individuals of sacred worth, created in the image of God. All persons need the ministry of the church in their struggles for human fulfillment, as well as the spiritual and emotional care of a fellowship that enables reconciling relationships with God, with others, and with self. The Book of Discipline currently does not condone the practice of homosexuality and considers this practice to be incompatible with Christian teaching. It does not allow for practicing homosexuals to be clergy, married within the United Methodist Church, or to be married by a United Methodist minister. Bishops and clergy can also be charged within the church if they violate these prohibitions. The United Methodist Church affirms that God's grace is available to all, and we seek to live together in Christian community, welcoming, forgiving, and loving one another, as Christ has loved and accepted us. As such, the United Methodist Church promotes that we neither reject nor condemn lesbian and gay members and friends, as we commit ourselves to ministry for and with all persons. At the 2016 General Conference, members asked the bishops for help in reconciling the differences of opinions regarding the role of homosexuals within the church. This led them to create the Commission on a Way Forward. There was a special general conference in 2019 in which a plan was adopted that focused on closing loopholes and enforcing accountability to the discipline stance, as it is still indicated in the Book of Discipline that the practice of homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teaching. As a result of this conference, qualifications for ordination did not change from what is in the Book of Discipline. Therefore, self-avowed practicing homosexuals, those living in a same-sex marriage, those in a domestic partnership or civil union, or a person who publicly states she or he is a practicing homosexual are not to be certified as candidates, ordained as ministers, or appointed to serve in the United Methodist Church. The plan adopted in 2019 also includes penalties for clergy convicted at trial by the Judicial Council for performing same-sex marriages. A final note that was updated in the Book of Discipline is that church funds should not be allowed to promote the acceptance of same-sex physical intimacy. While these rules remained in place pertaining to the United Methodist Church position on homosexuality, some events within the church have led traditionalists to believe that the United Methodist Church has become ungovernable. There have been challenges to enforcing the discipline. There are instances where the United States jurisdictions and bishops have not taken action to stop unapproved conduct that is restricted by the discipline. These include bishops and pastors who have conducted same-sex weddings, and bishops and pastors who have been elected and ordained who are self-avowed practicing homosexuals. Here are a couple of real-life examples that are driving disaffiliation. Some individual clergy have come out as being in a gay or lesbian relationship, and some still allowed to serve by their bishops. A few clergy have conducted same-sex ceremonies, including some in North Carolina. Considering the rising deep conflict in the United Methodist Church over issues of human sexuality, there was a vote taken at the 2019 specially called General Conference to add paragraph 2553 to the Book of Discipline. This option allows churches the opportunity to disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church for reasons of conscience regarding the church's current positions or actions or inactions of the annual conference on these issues. In March 2022, the Council of Bishops affirmed that paragraph 2553 was the primary way for a church to disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church. This method has an expiration date of December 31st, 2023. While there was supposed to be a general conference in 2022 to establish a new way for local churches to leave the United Methodist Church if they so choose, that general conference did not take place due to COVID and visa issues for foreign delegates. Therefore, paragraph 2553 is currently the only way for local churches to disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church, and the expiration date of December 31st, 2023 still stands. If our church decides to disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church, our congregation needs to make a decision by March or April in order to have time to get all necessary paperwork to the annual conference for their vote. Now, what is the cost of disaffiliation? We don't currently have the exact figures. We know a local church is required to pay 2 years of apportionments. That is the balance of the current year plus 1 more year, and pay the unfunded pension liabilities. We will not have the exact figures unless the Administrative Council approves pursuing a disaffiliation vote. If we do disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church, we would also have to remove anything in the church or property that has the cross and flame symbols on it, as that logo belongs to the United Methodist Church. Currently, our church property is held in trust. This means that all properties of the church are held in trust by the Western North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church. This design is intended to make sure that we focus on the missions of God within our church. If Muirs Chapel votes to disaffiliate, the land and buildings will be transferred to Muirs Chapel. Choosing whether or not to vote. Churches do not have to take a vote unless a group within the church calls for it and the Administrative Council votes to pursue it. Some churches have discussed these issues and decided not to vote on disaffiliation. Some have not discussed this at all. There are churches that do not plan to discuss it until after the 2024 General Conference. There are churches that have decided that they will remain in the United Methodist Church, and there are churches that have already disaffiliated. Now, how would a vote to disaffiliate at Muir's Chapel work? There are multiple things that would need to happen before we would need to have a church-wide vote. On January 15, 2023, the Administrative Council may vote on whether to pursue a church-wide vote, depending upon motions that come to the floor. If the Administrative Council passes a motion to pursue disaffiliation, then Administrative Council Chair Chris Pisco will enter discussions with the District Superintendent, Bev Copley. We would prepare documents for their review, and she would provide us with the actual dollar amount we would need to pay. At some point, she would schedule a meeting at our church. This will lead to a church-wide vote at a date that the district superintendent requests. As soon as that is scheduled, we will be contacting the membership to be ready to vote. Disaffiliation would require a 2/3 majority of voting members who are present at the meeting. If the Administrative Council recommends a vote, the church membership will be notified in multiple ways. Members must be present to vote. There are no options for voting by proxy, mail, Zoom, or telephone. Now, what are some concerns for Muir's Chapel to understand? Let's talk about volunteering support of missions. We have been working hard to build the children and youth programs and have made good progress. Many other missions of the church need volunteers as well. Volunteering support is crucial to keeping these missions moving forward. Losing members due to personal convictions will be difficult to overcome. Budgetary issues. The church has had a significant decrease in attendance due to the pandemic and member deaths, among other reasons. During the past year, the church has focused on rebuilding membership and giving by retaining exceptional staff and expanding operations while operating at a deficit. This effort to rebuild may be disrupted by the division, as some members may choose to leave Muir's Chapel due to personal convictions, regardless of whether the church disaffiliates or not. We know Pastor Brenda has announced her retirement. She will be retiring at the annual conference in June. Finding a new pastor will be determined by what direction our church makes in the votes to come. Now, the Administrative Council vote could do several things. One, we have no vote. This means we stay in the United Methodist Church and take no action. Number two, we choose to pursue disaffiliation. Our members will vote on whether to disaffiliate or not. This would require a 2/3 vote to disaffiliate at the time the district superintendent calls the vote. If we do not get a 2/3 vote, we then stay in the United Methodist Church. If we vote to disaffiliate, we have several options for which our church may align. These would include, but not be limited by, going to a new Methodist or Wesleyan denomination, choosing the Global Methodist Church, or we can pursue being in an independent church. Our church has served faithfully together for 200 years. Our ministries include feeding the 5,000, community angel gifts, trunk or treats, blood drives, YMCA, GUM, congregational care, and many other services and ministries. Our hope is that this church will be able to continue all these experiences together for years to come. The Administrative Council takes this decision seriously, and we want to make sure each of you clearly understands the issues before us and the consequences of how the church decides to deal with them, so that you will be well prepared if the decision is made to take a vote. Thank you.